Welcome to Swim. This book is really attracting me very much. A hero of our time, and I don't know what do you think, but sometimes we don't know why some titles or some books attract us in one way or another to read them right now. And this book I never finished it. I find it I found it boring, but many years ago. So I'm going to continue reading this wonderful book, A Hero of Our Time. Where I'm going to continue the night bestimmt. That's a fine horse you have. Where I was. That night, Kazbich was gloomier than ever, and I noticed that under his beshmet he wore a coat of mail. It is not without reason that he has that coat of mail on, I reflected. He must be planning something. He got stuffy indoors, and I went outside to get a breath of fresh air. Night was already descending upon the mountains, and a mist had begun to float in the gorges. It occurred to me to look into the shelter where our horses stood in order to check if they had any feed, and then again it never hurts to be careful. The more so as my horse was a fine one, and many a Capardan had ogled it tenderly as he muttered to himself, Yakshit he, check Yakshi, good horse, very good. As I was picking my way along the fence, I suddenly heard voices. One voice I recognized immediately. I belonged to that scamp, Azamat, the son of our host. The other spoke more seldom and more softly. What can they be conferring about? I thought. Might it be about my pony? So I squatted by the fence and began listening, trying not to miss a single word. At times the sound of the songs and the clamor of voices carrying on from the house would drown the conversation that interested me. That's a fine horse you have, Azamat was saying. If I were master in the house and had a herd of 300 mares, I'd give half of them for your courser, Kazbich. Aha, Kazbich, I said to myself, and recalled the coat of mail. Yes, answered Kazbich after a pause. In the whole of Cabardas you won't find one like it. One time this happened beyond the Terek. I rode with the Abreks to these Russian horse herds. We had bad luck and scattered, each his own way. 4 Cossacks were tearing after me. Already I could hear the cries of the Giaours behind me, and in front of me there was a dense forest. I leaned forward in the saddle and trusted myself to Allah, and for the first time in my life insulted my horse with a blow of the lash. Like a bird he dived among the branches. Sharp thorns tore my clothes. Dry elm twigs struck my face. My horse jumped over tree stumps, tore the brush apart from his chest. It would have been better for me to abandon him at the forest edge and disappear in the woods on foot, but I could not bear to part from him, and the Prophet rewarded me. Several bullets whined above my head. I could already hear the dismounted Cossacks running in pursuit. Suddenly I saw a deep ravine before me. My courser hesitated and then jumped. His hind hoofs slipped back from the far edge, and he hung by his front legs. I abandoned the reins and tumbled into the ravine. This saved my steed, and he scrambled up. The Cossacks saw all of this, but not one of them went down to look for me. They must have thought that I had killed myself, and I heard them rush off to capture my horse. My heart bled. I began crawling through the thick grass along the ravine, then took a look. The forest had come to an end. Several Cossacks rode out of it into a clearing, and there came my Karagios, galloping right upon them. They all took off after him, yelling. For a long, long time they pursued him, and one in particular very nearly got a lasso over his head a couple of times. I trembled, lowered my eyes, and began to pray. A few seconds later, I raised them again and saw my Karagios flying with streaming tail, as free as the wind, and the Jaguars strung out far behind him in the steppe of their worn-out horses. By Allah, it is the truth, the truest truth. I stayed in my ravine late into the night. Suddenly, imagine Azamat. In the dark, I heard a horse running back and forth along the lip of the ravine, snorting, neighing, and beating the ground with his hoofs. I recognized the voice of my Karagios. It was he, my comrade. Since then, we have never parted. Beautiful!